Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where we will be discussing the Ethical Charter Implementation Program, also known as ECIP. Many of you are here today as a result of the meeting held during the IFPA Global Produce and Floral Show, where Walmart leaders encouraged their suppliers to get involved with ECIP and to deepen their engagement with the program. We're eager to tell you everything you need to know to do exactly that. ECIP is an industry collaboration led by major buyers and suppliers committed to supporting the entire produce supply chain on a continuous improvement journey toward more responsible labor practices. ECIP is guided by an advisory group, you see the logos here on your screen, that includes not only Walmart and Sam's Club, but also Costco, Kroger, Target, McDonald's, and 4 of their suppliers. My name is Leanne Ruzzamenti, Director of Marketing and Communications for Equitable Food Initiative. EFI is proud to serve as the supporting organization that manages ECIP's software platform and provides technical support. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we begin. You can submit any questions you have using the chat feature. We'll be monitoring that, and we absolutely will save time at the end to address your questions. My colleague Alexandra is running tech, so you may see or hear from her. She's happy to lend support when needed. And finally, we are recording this webinar, and you'll be getting the recording in just a few days. So to kick off, we did want to bring in some of the leadership from Walmart through video. So you're going to hear from Jim Hancock now.
Hello, good afternoon. Everybody's still awake. We're getting closer. That's some great work. Right, small steps make a big difference. So really good to see that. My name is Jim Hancock, and I have the pleasure of leading the Sam's Club Produce and Floral team. Excited to be here today. We are talking about people, some of our people strategy. And a few years ago, we started working on, with industry leaders, the ethical charter for the produce industry. And that was a set of principles and ideas that we could all agree to about how we would treat people. And everyone rallied around that. I'm happy to report that at Sam's Club, over 99%, and at Walmart, over 98% of all suppliers have endorsed the ethical charter. So thank you for your support on that. That's a big deal. And now we're moving to the next step, the implementation. We worked last fall to roll out the ethical charter implementation program. We call it ECIP because the other's too long to say. And but it's a tool that you can enroll, sign up for to get ideas, best practices on how to improve people procedures inside of your organization. And the nice thing about this ECIP tool is we worked with lots of other retailers, food service, so that you're not coming at all of us differently with a different audit, a different procedure. This is something that's universal for a couple of different, for our industry, for all your customers. And I think it's really going to be good. We're off to a great start. Over 50% of our growers and suppliers have already engaged in the platform. So we're moving along and making progress. Now, I will say, I just want to add, I know a lot of you have invested a lot of time and money into social certifications, and that is all good work. We're not saying any of that was wasted. That works well in place of ECIP or works well alongside of ECIP. So continue to do that. And if you're a non-produce supplier in the room and you want to engage in people activities along this line, check out the Gigaton platform or Gigaton portal, and you'll be able to go there and find supplier leadership people, enter some specific goals for your business, and you can track progress, and we'll all celebrate those together.
Great. And now we have another short clip, this time from Laura Himes, the Vice President of Global Sourcing with Walmart.
Hello, my name is Laura Himes. I lead our produce sourcing team at Walmart, and I'm excited to talk to you today about the Ethical Charter Implementation Program. In 2020, Walmart committed to becoming a regenerative company, one focused on creating a net positive impact for people and planet. To support the people working throughout our produce supply chains, we worked with the Produce Marketing Association and United Fresh Produce Association, now IFPA, alongside a group of retailers and suppliers to create the Ethical Charter on Responsible Labor Practices. The Ethical Charter outlines a common set of principles for the produce industry. and we asked all of our fresh produce and floral suppliers to join us in endorsing those principles. Now it is time to take the next step in moving from endorsement to action. Over the past several years, we have partnered across the supply chain to create the Ethical Charter Implementation Program. We are excited about the potential of this program to scale across the produce value chain without adding additional audits. The program provides tools and resources for growers to assess their management structures, benchmark their progress, and continue to improve. What we love about this program is that it focuses on continuous improvement while offering many tools and resources to those who need additional support. We are excited to start inviting our suppliers into the program and are grateful in advance for your partnership and engagement. Thank you.
Wonderful. We're really appreciative to Walmart for their leadership in this program. And now I want to introduce you to Peter O'Driscoll, Executive Director with EFI.
Thanks, Leanne. As Leanne says, I'm Executive Director of EFI, and we've worked very closely with the industry now for really over 10 years to design this Ethical Charter Implementation Program. I think it's very important that everybody understand where it comes from. Those of you who've been in the industry for a while will remember 2014 when the Los Angeles Times published their Product of Mexico series, which really flagged for the industry that there was a labor risk issue that needed to be addressed. As you've heard from Laura Himes and from Jim Hancock, the industry came together the first time ever that Produce Marketing Association and United Fresh had formed a joint committee. And together, they addressed the issues raised in the article and came up with the Ethical Charter on Responsible Labor Practices, which they published in 2018. From an EFI perspective, we right away recognized that there was a lot of really great material and commitment in that charter, but we also recognized that there was really no enforcement or verification mechanism. And so we began speaking to major buyers who recognized and agreed that we needed to go as an industry beyond simply endorsing the ethical charter and those principles to figuring out how to make sure they were being implemented industry-wide. So starting in 2019, a bunch of the major buyers came together, Costco, Walmart, Sam's Club, Target, and others, to design a pilot program to test how we could actually allow employers, suppliers to demonstrate to their customers that they were upholding the principles of the charter on a regular basis. And going into that pilot, we understood that if this program really were going to be industry-wide, it needed to adhere to several key principles. And the first was, it could not be an audit-based program. We don't know for sure, but there are anywhere from 20 to 30,000 different farms that supply the North American produce industry or retail market every year. And it's simply not practical to audit every single one of those facilities every year. So we knew that the program was not going to be audit-based, and therefore it was not going to be a compliance test. Instead, we agreed that the program should be focused on engaging employers, bringing them into a platform, and then building on a process of continuous improvement. And so the programs that we piloted were all designed to support growers, to meet employers where they are, and to help them progress in their journey towards more and more responsible labor practices. So not audit-based, not a compliance test, but rather an engagement and continuous improvement tool. And finally, supplier-owned. And that's why this role that you as suppliers play is so important, because the buying community, as you know, is expressing a clear interest in hearing from you that you are supporting your growers to come into this system. You are the interface to those growers. And the goal was to build a system that was designed in part by several of the major suppliers in the industry to support you, to support your growing community to come into this program. The pilot was deemed successful by those who participated. And so it was that we agreed to launch the Ethical Charter Implementation Program in 2023. And I'm happy to introduce my colleagues who will tell you more about the Learn, Assess, Benchmark platform. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Next up, we have Deanna Monroe, the Technical Product Manager at EFI, and she is indeed going to give you a brief demo of the ECIP platform and really see what it will look like once you get in there.
Thank you, Leanne. Yes, I am Deanna Monroe, the Technical Product Manager here at EFI, and I will walk you through how each lab user's engagement profiles affect each other, and I will demo some key features in the platform. So firstly, there are 3 user types in ECIP Lab: growers, suppliers, and buyers. How they engage in the platform directly affects each user's engagement profiles. As a grower engages in Grower Lab, they earn stars for their efforts, which earn stars in their engagement profile. This profile, including the stars earned by that grower, then flows up to the suppliers that they are connected to in the platform. One key metric that ties grower performance to supplier recognition is the supply chain engagement star. This star is automatically awarded to the supplier when a majority of their growers in their supply chain have earned 2 or more stars in Grower Lab or have earned the gold certification star. The supply chain onboarding star is another key metric that ties grower performance to suppliers. For suppliers to earn this star, a significant percentage of growers in their supply chain must have an active subscription in Grower Lab. Finally, the buyer dashboard is the interface where retailers such as Walmart, Costco, Kroger, Target, and Sam's Club gain visibility into their supply chain. The dashboard provides retailers with a list of participating suppliers and shares their degree of engagement with the program. Buyers see the individual supplier engagement profile, which includes the engagement stars earned by the supplier. Suppliers earn up to 4 green stars and the supplier gold star. The engagement stars collected by suppliers are some of what is shared with their customers and buyers. And now I am going to share my screen and walk you through each user experience. So when a grower user logs into Grower Lab, they will come to this landing page where they will see how they've, what percentage completion they've done in the assessment. And then they can navigate to the learning channel or look at their engagement profile from this page. But I am going to show you the 3 pillars of Lab: Learn, Assess, Benchmark. The Learn channel is designed to educate users about management systems required to align with the ethical charter principles. You'll see over here on the left, there's 12 of the 13 principles listed here. You can click the caret key to learn about that particular management system. You'll be able to click on resources, best practices, templates to support operationalizing these systems. Users can record notes internally and create priority lists. And just to note, these notes are confidential to the users that are associated with this organization. No one outside of this organization will be able to view these notes. The second pillar, Assess, is where users can confidentially evaluate their current labor management systems. Users are invited to rank their own management systems, providing honest self-assessment. And these are 54 management systems in the assessment pillar, and completing all of those will earn the grower the assessment star. The third pillar, Benchmark, is the channel that summarizes your assessment responses, and this provides users with suggestions and next steps to help determine priorities for improvement. The channel helps users organize, prioritize, and sequence their work based on the knowledge gained from the Learn and Assess channels. The Benchmark channel will provide some recommended resources based on how you answered and ranked your management systems in the Assess channel. It will also give you some prioritized items that you prioritized also in the Assess channel. You can then view how you responded to each management system in a pie chart form and by principle. And then lastly, you can see how you answered based on management system. And if you want to see how to earn your stars and see what stars you have earned, you can click on Learn How to Build Your Score. This will bring you to the page that outlines what each star means and how you can earn them. So moving on to Supplier Lab, when a supplier logs into Supplier Lab, this is their landing page. They're going to see some at-a-glance statistics about their supply chain. They're going to be able to see their engagement profile and what stars they've earned, what stars they've yet to earn. And then they're going to have a list of their growers in their supply chain. You're going to be able to see the percentage complete of the assessment for each grower, when that grower last logged in, whether that grower has subscribed or their subscription has lapsed, and you'll be able to see that grower's engagement profile. Each of these columns are going to be sorted. You can sort them, so you can have your most engaged growers up top and then your least engaged growers at the bottom. And then Supplier Lab also has the 3 pillars: learn, assess, benchmark. It's the same layout, but there are 5 sections with 15 assessment questions that the supplier has to rank themselves. Again, we have resources to help you answer those questions. We also have the notes and the priority. And then also for suppliers that want to support their growers, we have a read-only section of the 54 questions that your growers have to answer. And again, this is a read-only. And just like with growers, you have your assess channel for suppliers where you can rank how you perform for this particular management system. And then you have the benchmark page. Same layout as the growers. You can see how far you've progressed through the assessment. You can see how many stars you've earned. The benchmark page is going to tell you which recommended resource or which resources they recommend based on how you answered. It's going to tell you which management systems you've prioritized. It's going to give you that pie chart and that sections by how you answered. And then you can look at, again, how you can earn your stars. It'll outline what you have to do to earn those stars. And in some instances, you can earn those stars right in the benchmark channel. So all this said, we can go up to the buyer dashboard. So the buyer dashboard lists all suppliers in the ECIP ecosystem and allows them to be rankable by credible engagement based on their engagement profile. This ranking is utilized by retailers to segment their suppliers based on perceived risk and commitment. Suppliers with a higher number of stars show up as lower risk suppliers, and suppliers with a lower number of stars show up as a higher risk supplier. So your supplier will obviously be able to see the name of your organization. They'll be able to see your engagement profile and which stars you've earned, which stars you've yet to earn. They can see how many growers you've input into the system, saying how many growers you have in your supply chain. They can see how many of those growers that you've reported in your supply chain are participating. They can see how many growers have completed the assessment and the percentage of growers that are certified with a breakdown if you hover over that statistic. And then they can see a percentage of your supply chain that have earned at least 2 stars or are certified. They can sort this supplier list by engagement, your name or your number of growers, and then they can also filter by the number of stars, your subscription status, what commodities are associated with your growers, and which growing regions those commodities are grown in. So the goal of the buyer dashboard is to provide field level supply chain visibility by showing which suppliers are actively supporting their growers and strengthening their labor management systems. And with that, I will stop sharing and give it back to Leanne.
Thanks so much, Deanna. And I guess I just want to acknowledge that that was a lot of information. If you're new to ECIP, you don't get overwhelmed. Deanna really wanted to give you a look from each role within ECIP Lab. I think once you get in there with the role of supplier, it's pretty intuitive. And then just know that Deanna and her team are always standing by at support@ethicalcharterprogram.org, and she will help you through whatever step of the process you're in. So, with that, I would like to bring up our colleague Kenton Harmer, the Director of Market Based Impact with EFI.
Thanks, Leanne. And where I'm going to really dive in is around the engagement. What's showing on the screen is engagement 2.0. It's just such a key feature, and for new suppliers and new growers coming into ECIP, we really want to make sure you have the information to really understand what that is, how it's used, and how do you use it to really provide you business value from your engagement with ECIP. So what we call engagement 2.0 are going to be those thresholds that demonstrate credible engagement. Okay, and Deanna showed them on the screens for both the growers and the suppliers. Once you're in lab, you're going to be able to see very clearly what is expected of you in order to earn the stars that populate this engagement profile graphic, right? And the importance there, of course, is that's the graphic that as suppliers shows up in front of your buyers and your merchants. So it's called Engagement 2.0 because we changed it in Q3 of this year. And I just want to sort of make sure that that's really understood, particularly for our new buyers, is what it means to be engaged in this work will continue to change every year. So in Q3, we'll have spent probably the last 4 to 5 months collaborating with our advisory group, all the folks that you see, whose logos you see on here, talking to people in the industry, talking to growers, talking to major employers and suppliers to really figure out, okay, what does it look like under the idea of continuous improvement for us to now raise that bar appropriately so that we see this improvement in the entire industry around how engaged and how they're demonstrating credible engagement in this work of aligning with the ethical charter. So as you're in the system right now and coming in, you're going to see the engagement 2.0 thresholds. And we really encourage you to understand very clearly what those are and what it takes to achieve them, or to earn those stars. If you have problems that it is something that we can fix, really listen to what Leanne just said, hit us up on support. We'd love to sort of be able to engage with you and see if we can assist in you getting as many stars as possible for this. And as you're doing that work, then we will start the other work of figuring out when we get to Q3, Q4 of next year of what's engagement 3.0 going to look like. You'll get a lot of communications ahead of time about exactly what it's going to take. We'll at that point ask you to come back into ECIP and re-earn the stars under these new thresholds. And when you do that, and when you're able to do that quite quickly after it is launched, then if you get all of the stars or whatever the criteria is that you're able to meet, it may qualify you to be part of our Leadership Circle celebration. So just recently at the IFPA Global Show, we brought together buyers and suppliers and really celebrated those folks that had entered the Leadership Circle, because under the current engagement thresholds, engagement 2.0, these are the folks that really embrace that and were able to demonstrate continuous improvement very, very quickly and really are leaders in this world. That opportunity is there for new suppliers as well. Once we put engagement 3.0 out, we'll also tell you what will it take to be part of the Leadership Circle next year at the Global Show. And that gets you in front of your customers and really gets you to be able to celebrate all the leadership that you're showing by engaging in that credibly and that deeply in ECIP. So with that, Leanne, I just want to really encourage folks that are participating to ask us more questions in the Q&A about this concept, because it's really critical for people to really experience the value that can come out of really getting into ECIP and really using it to make both suppliers and growers better operations and look more present better to their customers.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kenton. And before we open it to your questions, which please do be putting in the chat for us, I want to take off my MC hat for a moment and put on my marketing hat for a few minutes. I have 3 points to make for you. First, I would really urge you to create a partnership between the program manager who will be handling ECIP for your organization and your sales and marketing teams. When a supplier company first comes into ECIP, like it just happened at the global show, right? The ask comes from the retailer, typically to the sales or marketing team. But then the program itself is assigned to someone maybe in your HR department, maybe the person that interfaces the most with your growers. And for even smaller suppliers, sometimes it's the food safety person. So I really want to emphasize that as you move along with ECIP, it's great if the person who's leading up that program, up the ECIP program for your company, remains in contact with the sales and marketing teams so that you can continue to highlight this work with your customers. After all, it's your customers who are asking you to participate, and they're the ones who are going to be seeing the buyer dashboard in the way that Deanna just shared with you. So it remains a great opportunity to bring this information into your sales conversations. The one thing that is great about ECIP is that it creates an opportunity for you to talk about the work that you're probably already doing that you're really proud of. It is a great way to bring up the ways that you engage and communicate with your growers and how they communicate to their workers, what worker satisfaction looks like in the fields, what are the health benefits that you provide. And if you have field level certifications, this is the space where you can begin to talk about that, and you are receiving credit for it in your engagement profile on the buyer dashboard. So my second point is that you get to control the narrative on this one. Once you've been invited by a participating retailer, your company is showing up on that buyer dashboard, regardless of how you are engaging with ECIP or if you are engaging with ECIP. It is a critical part of ECIP, as Deanna showed. And if you've been invited by a customer, and even if you have never subscribed, you show up on the buyer dashboard as not subscribed. As with many things in life, no action is a statement, but this is really your opportunity to take control of that narrative. And as I was just saying, it's a great opportunity to share your social responsibility story. More and more customers are asking for things around social responsibility, so it's an opportunity for you to tell a rich and interesting story. Find out from your colleagues, what are we already doing in our supply chain that aligns with the ethical charter principles? Look for opportunities to differentiate your business and how you engage your growers in the principles of the ethical charter. When you go in and fill out your own self-assessment in Supplier Lab, you're looking at the ways that you are supporting your growers and asking the right questions. So these are really specific things that you want to share and bring back to the buyer that asked you to come into ECIP. And so then my third and final point is, even if one of your buyers are not a participating retailer in the ECIP program, you see the logos here on the screen. We have Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, Kroger, Target, and McDonald's. Each of these retailers have made a commitment to the program, and they're in various stages of progress in educating their buyers and merchants about the program. So even if your specific buyer at Walmart, Target, Costco, or Sam's doesn't know all the details, it's very likely they've heard of ECIP, so you should feel free to bring it up. And if you have buyers that are not in that area, who are not yet represented in the program, we would love your help in bringing them in. We are talking to other major buyers about coming into ECIP, and we are striving for that singular approach to labor practices across the industry. But you all have a great opportunity to express to them from your perspective why having a uniform, consistent program across the industry that doesn't require audits and it is scalable and achievable way to address labor practices. And so to support you in that conversation, we have a fact sheet you can share with those buyers who might be new to the ECIP program. And I think we can drop a link in the comments to that as well. So just to conclude before we jump into the Q&A, here at EFI, we want to ensure that each user of ECIP, the grower, the supplier, and the buyer, all find value in the program. We want to help you earn recognition for the good work you're doing. If you have any further ideas on how we can do that or attract other buyers, please reach out to us. And with that, I would like to invite my colleagues back up to stage. And I've got some questions. Let's see. I think this is a good one to get started with. I am a grower who holds a social responsibility certification. How does ECIP benefit growers like us who holds one of these certifications?
Thanks, Dan. I love this question. I'm going to jump on it because the whole premise in the design of ECIP was to recognize that it's a huge opportunity to hold up the work that employers are already doing. So ECIP Lab is designed to support growers who are beginning their social responsibility journey, or perhaps just to meet them wherever they are on that journey. But some grower or some employer who has gone through a credible third-party certification has already demonstrated that they have solid, strong labor practices. So when we were designing this program, we engaged a third party to benchmark a number of different programs, social responsibility programs, against the ethical charter. And the advisory group agreed that 16 of these programs would be recognized. So if you're a supplier who holds one of those 16 programs or certification or has been audited by one of those programs, then you gain immediately two significant advantages. The first is that you automatically gain a gold star on your grower engagement profile. And a gold star will rocket you to the very top of the rankings, if you will, of the growers in your suppliers listing. So the gold star is one huge advantage. And again, it's a form of additional recognition for the good work you've already done. But the second great advantage is that if you hold one of those 16 benchmark programs, then you get free access to the lab platform. As my colleagues have expressed, the lab platform is an incredible library of rich resources that can help you strengthen your management systems even more. And so that gold star, that credible program participation that you've already demonstrated, gets you free access to all of those resources.
I have a follow-up question that has come in, Peter, and it's a little different because this is grower certifications, what we're talking about. But someone has asked if having B Corp certification would be helpful in the ECIP program.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it would be good to hear a little bit more about it. So presumably this is coming from a supplier company that's sourcing from multiple growers.
I would assume, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good input. So I'm going to suggest that we take that on board as great feedback and think about whether that can be factored into the next iteration of the supplier engagement criteria. And Kenton, do you want to comment on that as well? You might have thoughts.
Yeah, I would say, is it helpful for this program? Absolutely. Okay. It is not one of the 16 approved programs, but that's because its focus is very, very different. But on the parts of B Corp where you are able to build that muscle around learning about like optimal management systems, assessing their performance and improving them over time, which is part of being able to meet the B Corp thresholds as well. That muscle, that organizational muscle, becomes incredibly important as you're earning your threshold, or sorry, earning your engagement stars in ECIP.
Yeah, I totally would imagine it helps with the communication down to the growers as well through B Corp. Okay, is the assessment available in Spanish?
Yeah, and I'll take that one as well, Leanne, there's a toggle. You can go back and forth. We're assuming many of these workforces are multilingual, and you're going to want to bring a number of different users in order to benefit from the learn resources and be able to give the most accurate answer you can during the assessment. And so people can be working in either Spanish or English, and it's a very seamless experience.
Another question on the assessment is how often does it need to be completed?
Yeah, so it's really designed. Remember, this is a continuous improvement platform. So it is designed to be there to support continuous improvement continuously, right? So best case scenario is you look at the learn resources, you figure out something that maybe wasn't apparent to you. You're able to sort of look and how that knowledge might help your organization, which management system you may want to improve. You go and make that improvement, and then you come back to that assess page and say, well, okay, I was down here, but then I did the work, I put in the reps, and now I'm up here. So it is available to you to reassess yourself anytime there is a material change in where you're at against any of the 54 management systems for growers and 17 management systems for suppliers. That said, the only other sort of way to answer that question is to say, whenever we launch new engagements, so the next one upcoming, Q3, will be engagement 3.0. At that point, you need to go back in, use the resources, reassess yourself, and re-earn the stars under these new thresholds.
Excellent. And I'm going to pivot back to certification because we had another question come in asking about how this is related to what the difference is with EIQ.
Yeah, and let me take that one. And so for what if folks that don't know it, EIQ is a product, it's a platform that's put out by LRQA, formerly Elevate, a partner of EFI on our certification programs. So I can't speak too much to EIQ. My understanding is it's looking at hundreds of data points and data sets across the world constantly in order to try and understand known risks in supply chains. Seems well designed, seems really robust, fundamentally a different tool. My understanding is it's a risk assessment tool. What we're doing is giving you the chance to sort of really look internally into your own organizations, figure out where you want to work, what your next steps are, and then reward you for beginning or continuing that journey. So fundamentally different types of products, Leanne, coming from our friends at LRQA.
Great. And again, to underscore your point, Kenton, this idea that it's continuous improvement and it's ongoing work. So while there might not be complete crossover with these other programs, they're all kind of getting you stronger management systems and into the place that ultimately your retail partners want you to be. Speaking of retail customers, if multiple of my retail customers are involved in ECIP, how can I ensure that they're all seeing my supplier engagement profile? Deanna.
I can take this one, Leanne. So when you're invited into the platform, it's either by one of your retail partners or you came in organically. If you're invited by one of your retail partners, we on the back end will attach your supplier profile to that retailer. If you come in organically, you have to let us know at support@ethicalcharterprogram.org which retail partners you want to be connected to. And there is a place in the platform under your profile where it will be listed the retailers that you're connected to. If you see a discrepancy, reach out to us at support and we can make those changes for you to ensure that all of your data, your engagement profile is being shown to all of the retailers that you desire. So you don't have to do double work, triple work.
Nice. And then I know we've had this quite a bit, Deanna, so I think you're the best person to answer this, but some suppliers are vertically integrated, and so they act in both the grower role and the supplier role. So someone was asking for clarification on what that looks like. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, so in the platform, you would have to set up 2 accounts. one supplier account and one grower account. If you want to invite yourself, the same email address to both accounts, you would again have to reach out to us at support@ethicalcharterprogram.org. If there's someone else in your organization that is going to be managing your grower account, you can invite them as normal as you would a grower organization that is not vertically integrated. But yes, you would have to have two separate accounts to accurately show to your retail partners on the buyer dashboard.
And just another call for any questions, because I'm getting ready to throw the panel the last question that has come in. So if you have any other burning questions, now is your time to throw those in. And I'm going to read this last one. If we're a smaller supplier, will ECIP still be relevant, or is this more geared towards larger companies?
Yeah, absolutely. This unequivocally. And just some context is, what we find with many of the really, impressive certification programs that are out there is they favor organizations with bigger budgets, bigger workforces, bigger resources to be able to throw at becoming compliant with whatever program they're in. We had that in mind when we designed ECIP. We wanted to make sure ECIP was inclusive of all the shapes and sizes of suppliers and growers that are in the industry, and really make sure we're giving a pathway for these smaller suppliers to be able to know how to do the good work, and most importantly, be seen and rewarded for doing the good work. So you'll find if you're a smaller supplier or a smaller grower, that much of this design is really there to give you the tools that it's going to make sense for your organization size.
Yeah, and maybe Kenton, if you could take a minute, I know you thought very intentionally about size of supply chain. There was a piece that Deanna went over in the supplier assessment where we ask suppliers to quantify the size of their supply chain with the number of growers, and maybe just talk about how the system was built to scale with that. I think that's a
yeah, and
question that comes up.
There's a couple of things. So as a new supplier coming into ECIP right now, we think that hopefully after this webinar, at least, your eye is going to go pretty quickly to that page that explains how do you earn your engagement stars. And what you'll see on that is to earn the supplier gold star. So the big gold one in the middle, it is all of the big deal as a gold star should be. Under Engagement 2.0, what we're asking you to do is carefully understand how grower is defined in this context, and then do some verification to make sure that you have all of the qualifying growers reported into Supplier Lab. And once you attest that this verification has been done and that this is a good number, that's what's actually going to qualify you under 2.0 to get that gold star. And we're doing that very intentionally because that is a really critical number. In the same way that we want the design and accessibility of Supplier Lab to be able to reach down to the smallest of suppliers, we also need to recognize that if you have a large, complex supply chain, this is a much different ask to bring them along with you on this continuous improvement journey. So if we get that number right in the number of qualified growers is reported, the larger that number gets, you get some the math ends up working in your advantage. So really quick example, Leanne, is if you've got 2 vertically integrated growers in the system, and we're asking you to bring a substantial number of them into ECIP and to gain, let's say, 3 stars. Okay, that's a very different burden, if you will, than if you have a couple of hundred qualified growers spread over 3 different countries, which is a very common case for us. So the math is going to work. What we mean by significant number of growers when you have, let's say, 280, that's going to be, we're going to take a percentage based on your size. So we're seeing behaviors where people are sort of worried about reporting large supply chains. And I would just be here to counsel folks, Leanne, that in fact, get that number right. And what we're going to do is we're going to then be able to use that to level out what we're asking of you to do in your supply chain to earn these engagement stars.
Yeah, perfect. That was what I was hoping you would hit on. Those are all the questions that have come in. I want to thank my EFI colleagues and ECIP support, and just know that we are here for you. We want you to be successful in this. So use that email address liberally and reach out. Deanna and her team are standing by to get you into ECIP and join our leadership circle in 2026. Thanks so much, everyone.